Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey, and this is a special report. These special reports are prophecy reports. There is a major development that I can guarantee you that 99 to 100% of your prophecy channels will not be reporting on, but you're going to have it here. The European Union is in the process now of launching a treaty change, and I've been following these proposed changes, knowing what the institutional structure of the final empire is going to look like based on the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, and seeing how this is going to flesh out. And now those answers have come, the process has begun, and I'm going to tell you what some of those changes are. The EU, first of all, is the final world empire. It is the revived Roman Empire that is predicted in the book of Daniel and in the Revelation. There's an allusion in the Revelation, there's a hint in the four horsemen of the apocalypse when John references, or actually it predicts the great famine that's coming. And when John references a measure of wheat for a denarius. Well, a denarius was the Roman coin. So why would John reuse a denarius when this is talking about future? Because this future empire is the latter date version of its earlier period. In the same way the Bible references Babylon as the final empire as Babylon. So it's specifically showing us one area where this is the revived Roman Empire. In addition, you have a piece in Daniel that forecasts the four horns. By the way, this was written prior to Alexander the Great and predicted the four generals that the empire would fall to when Alexander died. The empire went to four of his generals. This was predicted in the book of Daniel, and Daniel said that out of one of these horns comes this little horn, this vile antichrist, this false Messiah. He would come at the end of the age out of this little horn. Out of this broken horn. Well, one of the generals headed Macedon, and Macedon was absorbed by the Roman Empire. So there's another little piece in the book of Daniel, as well as the reference of the prince that shall come. But this isn't a teaching about that. So this revived empire is now here. And just like Jeremiah 51 predicts, it is about trade. As well as the king of Tyrus, we see another example of this final empire being about trade. And we see that in Revelation 17:18, when it specifically states the many goods and products that go through its borders. So the EU is now a hub for trade. It's almost unprecedented because there's no other empire that is a world hub like the EU. The EU has over 84 trade pacts and is negotiating more. There's no other empire or country that has as many trade agreements as the European Union. And what this does is it not only boosts its GDP and its economic growth, because you see, you get a lesson in prophecy that from Babylon we learn, because Babylon was a hub for trade, that economic strength leads to political strength. And we saw that with Babylon in the scriptures. So the EU is a hub for trade. That is now official, just as it was predicted in the prophets. In addition to being a hub for trade, the euro, based on this coming treaty, will be mandatory. All of the nations, and the EU is proposed to now grow to 37 nations, so it's going to be huge. And they're all going to adopt the euro. So it's a matter of time before the euro is the world's leading currency. Just as the Roman Empire had the denarius, the EU has the euro. It's only a matter of time before the euro becomes the world's reserve, also lending to this empire's strength and power. And The prophet Daniel said that this empire was exceedingly dreadful, exceedingly strong, and it crushed with the residue of its feet. And it was different from any empires before it because it was so strong. And he was sick at the vision, sick for weeks at the vision of this empire. And the EU, based on this current treaty that's going to be worked out and then eventually signed, is that it will have its own defense union. Now, the EU has been working on its army and it's not quite fleshed out. Bits were added, pieces were added in the Lisbon Treaty, such as PESCO, and then later the Strategic Compass was added and the External Action Service, and pieces have been added in actually each of the treaties, little by little. And now this final treaty is going to give these 37 nations, potentially 37 nations, their own army. Don't think that with over 500 million citizens, that army is not going to be strong. Don't think that with the wealth of this empire, that army will not be incredibly strong. And this is what is predicted in the scriptures. It's also interesting, if you listen to the European conservatives, I want you to listen to the co-chair of the ECR party and what he describes the EU as. And what they're upset about is the totally undemocratic nature of the European Union. And it's going to give way to the worst dictatorship that will ever have ever existed. And that's the dictatorship of the Antichrist. And I want you to listen to what Mr. Legutko has to say.
Thank you, Mr. President. The report is a living proof of how dangerous the EU has become. One is reminded of a well-known story about Dr. Frankenstein, who wanted to create a perfect being, and instead he created a monster.
In addition, the book of Daniel comes to life in another area, because there's the description in the book of Daniel of the little horn amongst the 10 kings. And these kings, it states in the book of Daniel, have no kingdom as of yet. As a matter of fact, the kingdom period didn't even begin at that time. It was still in an empire age. And the nation state period did not start until the 1800s, and it peaked in the 1900s. So these 10 kings give their authority to the little horn in its final institutional form. But you see that they're both together. The little horn is among the kings. And one of the changes in the institutions is that the council will no longer have its own president. It will be presided over by the commission president. So we actually now see in this new treaty revision in the institution, it mirroring what is described in the book of Daniel. Because what the book of Daniel describes in simplistic language, because in the Bible's simplicity is its complexity, is an institution, a political institution, because every empire has a structure and has how they're formed. And we see even the sovereignty that's relinquished, because it says that these nations give their power over. So this would probably mean 100% sovereignty being relinquished by this inner core as this in its final stage, but it also becomes a powerhouse for this empire. So we see that. I want you to also listen to what Mr. Legutko has to say, because it's predicted in the book of Daniel that he will change times and laws, the Antichrist. I want you to listen to this. This is a little bit hair-raising.
Which is still, I think, going on. You heard these remarks about reproductive rights and whatever, things like these. Up till now, theoretically at least, these were the matters to be decided in individual states, in the member states. Now the plan is to be a part of the EU ideology, which means that the EU will have the institutions to impose moral and philosophical issues on the people, and will have the instruments to punish those who have a different view. So I think the danger is a kind of creeping despotism.
This is unbelievable how prophecy is literally unfolding. And there's other pieces of this puzzle as well that now completely fit. So this has been your special report on the empire. Be sure to follow me on the twist and stay tuned for more.